Hi, everybody. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. Can we jump to the next slide, please? Welcome, everyone, to the Educator Speaker Series, Hip Hop's Transformative Connection to SEL and EDI in Arts Education with Chay Ross. We're super excited to have you all here tonight. Thank you for showing up on your screens after work. I really can't wait to dive into this event with you and learn from Chay together. If you would like to access captions today, you can click Show Captions on your Zoom toolbar, which is typically at the bottom of your screen. My colleague, Emily Madigan, is also here providing tech support. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send her a message. Next slide. I have just one quick announcement before we jump into Shay's presentation. Our first Evenings for Educators program of the school year is taking place on Wednesday, October 9th. It will not be at LACMA for this first program of the year. We are actually partnering with Cal State Northridge to present our program there. This allows us to look at a really special exhibition on self-portraiture from LACMA's collection called Before You Now, Capturing the Self in Portraiture. There will be prints, photographs, installations, and more on view at CSUN's art galleries. We invite you to come. Tickets are available online, and I'm going to put the link in the chat in just a moment so you can click right through. We definitely hope you'll come. We want to reach more teachers in that part of the county. So if you know folks up there in the valley, please spread the word as well. So I've just put the link in the chat. And we'll jump to the next slide. And I will go ahead and introduce our really, really prolific speaker, Chay Ross. She is a multifaceted artist, educator, and conference presenter hailing from the inland cities of South Bay and South Central Los Angeles, California. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Art Education from Cal State University, LA. She elevated her academic journey with a Master of Arts in Education and a California Single Subject Teaching Certification in Visual Arts. She is recognized as a U.S. congressionally acknowledged teacher leader with the National Art Education Association's Connected Arts Networks, or CAN. She currently serves as an Equity, Diversity, Inclusion Commissioner for the California Art Education Association. She's also a Visual and Performing Arts District Facilitator, VAPA Instructional Lead, an Adobe for Education ACE Innovation Leader, and the recipient of the 2024 California Art Education Association's statewide professional award for Outstanding Secondary Visual Art Educator. Ooh, that's a mouthful. With over 19 years of experience in education, she is currently in her 13th year at Alliance Cindy and Bill Simon Technology Academy High School, having taught an array of courses, including Introduction to Art, Commercial Art, Digital Design, Yearbook Publication, and Advanced Placement Art and Design, with a strong emphasis on SEL, EDI, literacy, and technology skills, culture, and identity, rooted in contemporary social issues. In her leisure time, which is incredible to imagine that she has any, with all this amazing stuff she's doing, she enjoys creating jewelry, Zen doodling, exploring controversial podcasts, analyzing select hip-hop music, and quad skating. So please join me in welcoming Chay to the stage. Thanks so much for being here, Chay. Oh, you're muted, Chay. There you go.
Okay, there you go. Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate that. Yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. So my presentation is called Hip Hop's Transformative Connection to SEL and ED&I in Arts Education. And you'll start to see that this particular topic is very, very near and dear to my heart. And yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. So the breakdown of today's session is going to be, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, introduce to you a little bit about, who I am, the things that I like, and then we'll have an overview of hip hop storytelling and connections to SEL and ED&I, followed by some student examples and some modern uses for secondary education. And then I'm going to walk you through one major lesson that I've completed throughout the years. I have a couple of examples, but there's one in particular I do want to walk you through. And then lastly, I will share with you resources and um, how to stay in touch with me. So once again, hello everyone. My name is Chay Ross, also known as Ross the Boss. My first name is Shalon, so either way, you'll see me referred to as both. Feel free to call me either one. I currently work with, for Alliance College Ready Public School at Simon Tech High School in Watts. And I am their first visual arts teacher, so that's kind of cool. And I've been there, this is my 13th year. Then I also work with Adobe. I do some work with them, and now I am the instructional lead there. So some of my favorite things, and I love talking about this right here. As you see, I'm really, really into hip hop, and I would say classic and conscious hip hop, but I'm into it completely, just all the way. But more particularly, classic hip hop. Music videos, no guidance. I'm not going to go through every single thing here, but just to kind of give you a idea of my favorite artists, Kendrick Lamar, of course, and one of my favorite TV shows is Snowfall, because if you're familiar with that TV show, that is a story that it kind of like mirrors my life. And every time I watch any episodes, it takes me right back to my childhood in the 80s. So let's go ahead and move on. So coming up in the 80s, and while I was in elementary school, I'm going to talk a little bit about that through middle school and a little bit through high school as well. So in early elementary, they discovered that I was a GATE student, and that word, or that just always stood out to me. I always carried that, like, what is that? I never did get into the program for other reasons we'll probably cover in a second. Um, because one, there was a lot of poverty, so that's nothing that is unique to my situation. But what is probably unique is in elementary, I was having these panic attacks and anxiety attacks, and had this social anxiety. And I also had like this isolation and muteness. So just now in my adult age and in my adult years, I'm learning the language that was happening to me. I didn't have the language at the time, but when I hear about flight and freeze, I say, oh my goodness, that's what was going on with me. So that's early elementary, and it lasted for several years, I would say. So I am very into all things LA, and it took me a minute to appreciate my city. I'm just so used to being here, born, raised here, been here all my life, basically. And all these yellow dots here, you'll see that these are like all the places, or some of the places that I can actually remember. These are places that I stayed at around South LA. And if you look in the top right corner, that's when I lived in the San Gabriel Valley. I didn't move out there until my college days, really, because I wanted to be closer to Cal City LA. So I moved to El Monte, then I was in the West Covina and even Azusa for a minute. But as you can see, I've very, um, just like the majority of my life is really concentrated in South LA. So my why do I teach the students that I teach? So if you don't already know, Simon Tech High School, the school that I teach at, it's a small high school in Watts. Um, and I've been there from the start of my credential, or as a credential teacher, into now. And I decided to stay there because I get the students. So when we talk about my why, the population that I serve, the students look very familiar to me. They seem familiar. I get them. Um, their stories are valid. Their dreams are valid. So the things that they want to do in life, I understand that they're worth it, pretty much. So through our stories, we all represent hope. So even learning a little bit about my childhood and growing up in LA, um, I would I would definitely say that, my story and even the stories that I've seen throughout the years with my students, we all represent hope. Um, so they matter, um, and we all matter. So why hip hop? So hip hop is is traditionally known for having great storytelling. Um, and as far as the students are concerned, if they're listening to hip hop, and then they see that there's a lesson that is connected to hip hop, they seem to open up more to me. I've seen it happen throughout the years. So they go from misunderstood to having a lot of clarity. They go from being bored to being interested. And in general, just being disengaged to invested, and not to mention the empathy skills that they build. So I'm just going to touch on briefly hip hop's connection to ED&I. So one, hip hop's connection. So a lot of the music that we do or are able to listen to, it's free. So even the artwork, sometimes if they only have a pencil and a piece of paper, um, it's very, very accessible, I would say. Through the pandemic, we didn't have a lot at all because, we were all at home. So pretty much that whole time it was just, okay, let's do art based on, the pencil that you have and a piece of paper, whatever that you may have. So it's very accessible. It's beginner friendly as far as like the type of artwork that we learn how to create. There's a variety of media that we can select. Let's say that we want to go on to one of these apps on our phone and create some type of art through our phone. It's very accessible in that way. Also, it's very inclusive, and it's you learn from a diverse group of students as far as their stories and experiences. And then connecting it to social emotional learning, SEL. Um, so when we think about SEL, we know that just being a creative or just doing creative things, it's very, very therapeutic. So they get to express themselves. They also get to build empathy and that confidence that's directly connected. And I have one example of how hip hop can build that confidence. And then so many other reasons, and we'll see about some of those reasons in just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to slow down just for a second because I'm going to have you read this right here. It's from a song called Feel, and it's by an artist named Kendrick Lamar. Um, you may have heard of him. So let me read it real quick. I feel like I'm losing my focus. I feel like I'm losing my patience. I feel like my thoughts in the basement. I feel like you're miseducated. So I'm gonna stop right there, read the rest of it to yourself, just take 1 minute. And then after that minute in the chat, I want you to think about this. Imagine if your scholar said these words to you. As an educator, how do you empathize with words like these? How do you move forward in building rapport with them? And how does this change your perception of them? So I'm not asking you to answer each of these questions, but use these questions as a guide as you read this and take this into consideration and type your responses in the chat. So I would give you 30 seconds or so to just read. And then after you're done reading, feel free to go ahead and start typing it in the chat. All right. Thank you so much. I see some responses coming through already. So just for the sake of time, I see more responses coming in. Thank you so much. Keep them coming. But for the sake of time, I am going to go on to the next slide. But still keep them coming. Thank you so much. So here's another song, and this is where basically it all started with me in teaching these hip hop lessons as a high school educator. It started with the album Good Kid, Mad City. And particularly, there's a song called Good Kid on the album. And just looking at the visuals, or not even the visuals to begin with, but just hearing the music, reading the lyrics, I saw that like there was a deep connection to myself and also the story that was told in that on that album. So once again, these are some lyrics, some words from the song Good Kid, and there's some powerful words. So at the bottom, once again, as an educator, we're creating safe places or safe spaces and making connections with our students. So more than likely, someone will relate, just like I related to the song, to the album. So this establishes connections. Okay, so again, that connection to SEL with hip hop. Also, as educators, we're showing our students that it's okay to share our feelings. It's actually cool to share our feelings. So that's one thing I'm really, really happy about because that wasn't always the case. So helping to eradicate generational trauma in the Black and Brown community. So growing up, it wasn't okay to talk about our feelings. It wasn't okay to go through therapy. And a lot of the stuff that we listen to with hip hop and the art that we create is very therapeutic. So, is hip hop really transformative? I would say, yeah, of course. Like, I'm living proof. I'm living proof. So, I'm just going to take a second to show my video. This is a video that I used years ago, and I still use it here and there. But it's an exemplar. We have to the lessons that we give our students, we have to also do them to show, yeah, we know how to do it. So when students have questions, we know how to answer the questions. But so this is my basically exemplar. It's not perfect, but it was basically it's a representation of what I wanted them, what I was asking them to do. So let me go ahead and play this.
Hi, my name is Shalon Ross, and I want you guys to know why I'm such a boss. See, it all started in Inglewood, California, where I was born and raised. Growing up, I really didn't have any idea as to what I wanted to do with my life. In fact, the things that I witnessed day after day after day almost led me on a path to destruction. I realized I didn't have to go on a path that I've seen so many of my friends go down. I needed to change my life, and I needed to do it quick. I started to dedicate my life to the arts and education. I became a teacher, and now I finally feel like I'm heading in the right direction. Now that I think of it, I was born a boss. But now I build opportunities for student success. So that makes me the biggest boss. So my question to you, dear Huskies, is, will you boss up? Have a great day.
Okay, so let me go back. Once again, that was basically the beginning to the media side of creating this art project. Before it was just hand drawn. Then I got into a lot of the Adobe apps. And this was like a really, really innovative and cool way for us to make the video. And this is where I really started to see how students were like opening up so much. And a lot of people ask when I do this particular workshop, like, do you hear about stories? Because, you know, we're all mandated reporters. So that's something that I make sure I tell students right away. So we're all mandated reporters. Just, you know, make sure whatever you are going to share, just understand, like, if it's you are in harm or anything like that, then we're required to report it. But even with that, what I started to see is that a lot of the students, they weren't currently going through any necessarily kind of bad things as far as like abuse or anything like that. What I started to see is that they were telling stories about like what happened to them previously in elementary, middle school, and their family probably is like over it at that point as far as like getting through all the tough times. So there's a lot of things that I was able to listen to and hear about. So it's definitely transformative. This one right here, so I want you to, there's no sound, so I'm gonna probably mute the background music that I picked up on, but I want you to see another example. So before I started this unit with my students and doing this with media arts. Like I said, we used to do it with just regular pencil and paper. So this is an example of a student using it, creating their project with paper. They probably had Crayola markers or something like that. And pay attention to the progression, the story, the visual story that the student is telling. Okay, so it's going to go from one box to the next, and then it's going to end at a certain place. So let me go ahead and play that. All right, so that one in particular, that is so powerful to me. But you saw an example of where someone's story started. There were 9 different boxes. So the students started off um, basically okay, went through some things and overcame it. So you saw the trend, the progression from them going through things that were really, really tough to them basically overcoming and graduating and getting out into the world and being alive and living. So that was really, really powerful to me. Let's go to the next one. So is hip hop really transformative? So I asked this question earlier. I say, of course it is. Hello, I'm telling you it is. I'm showing you it is. But let me show you here, this image that we're looking at right now. This is one of the art pieces that was done by one of my students years ago, maybe 2017 or so. They did a representation of Will Smith. So that's who you're looking at right now. Will Smith is a blood as represented by the color of the scarf that he has around his neck. So the question is, imagine where Will Smith would be if he didn't have hip hop. So if you don't know too much about Will Smith started in hip hop. So he's Will Smith at this point, famous um, movie star, mega movie star. But again, he started in hip hop. And Will Smith had a story as well. And his story played out in a form of art, and that was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Um, But even before that, that all came out, like, where would he be? We know that he got into some trouble at home. He talked about that in the intro song of his show. Also, in recent years, especially, he's been getting into, his name's been out there. There's been a lot of things that's been said about him, and this presentation isn't about that per se, but I do want to show an example of what hip hop can do. Okay, so just a second.
At my peak, I was doing a television show, a movie, and an album every year. So it was like that, churning out that kind of creativity. What happens is you get to a point where you get empty. So I'm excited. I'm re-energized, and I'm creating wildly like I used to. I'm ready. I got the beast back. Yeah. Damn, that joint fits in there too. No, I was saying I had a joint I had written to the click track, and I was like, you kind of fits the phone next to it.
Yes, 20 years of swag y'all just witnessed. Let me remind everybody who Will Smith is. Rappers make it rain. Let their money hit you if I throw my money, y'all. Shit, I'd probably kill a stripper. The illest, realest, big realest. Down with the man in charge with Uncle Phyllis. Everybody wanna do Will Smith numbers. I don't know if your life got that many summers. I got inspired quickly. I unretired. The French just rewired them slightly to modify it, but still, people dancing and shaking and moving and wailing and feel like I'm an alien. Really kind of an island. I might fly to China or nothing. Find a designer, pictures in my crib. Me, my mama, and Obama murder all over the globe. Guilty, your honor. I'ma become a Mormon. Mary and Allie, Rihanna, I'm an anomaly. Do drama or comedy. I could play Muhammad Ali over a white lady, probably still. 20 years of swag, you'll just witness. Stop the divorce rumors and mind your damn business. Read perfect and click track. Ridiculous. What I charge for a feature? Man, that's expensive. Cause y'all be doing features. I'll be doing features. So many tickets to theater need bleachers. More information from me than from most teachers. More inspiration from me than from most preachers. But wait, truly. Just for the record, directors make movies. I make directors. Dinner table, what y'all learn today. My dinner table, what y'all earn today. The real life Incredibles. Last name Smith. Jada, Jaden, Willow, Trace. Telling what I say.
Okay, so it was difficult for me to hold back with this one. So first of all, like, whether you are, a Will Smith fan, excuse me, because of his music or because of his movies, it doesn't matter. Like, I haven't seen this side of Will Smith in so long. He's always just like been humble and trying to like compose himself. So I'm like, wow, look at his confidence. Okay, Will, talk your stuff. So that's just one example.
At my peak, I was doing it.
Just a second. All right, so, but why? So if it's not obvious at this point, we do these kind of lessons to these culturally responsive lessons, basically to relate, to empathize, and to understand. And also, it's about the population that we serve, especially if you're in the urban communities, such as the community of Watts, where I teach. It's really, really important to make sure that we have these kind of lessons that connect with our students. All right, so how does hip hop lessons in a classroom look? Here is a photo of me. I want to say this was my second year at Simon Tech. And right off the bat, you see that there is a graffiti wall. So we know that there is a lot of graffiti in Los Angeles. We know that graffiti is art. There's different like different opinions about it. Did I hear something? So there are different opinions about graffiti and having it on the walls and things like that. So I said, okay, you know, whatever the opinions are that are out there, there's no rules against us having our own graffiti in our classroom. So that's what we did. The students love their city. They embrace graffiti. They embrace the style. So we made it a thing basically. So again, that was more than about 10 years ago or so. The graffiti wall. More recently, so there's another wall that I have, another classroom, same school. This one is the hip hop wall. So I started to basically collect these posters with some of our current artists. And in each of these posters is telling a story. And the cool thing about this hip hop wall that basically we started to create in my classroom, the students are really, really connected to these artists. So artists such as, of course, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, even Drake, and Tyler, the Creator, where they know that these artists are, most of the artists that I just said, they're from basically where they're from. They know, my students know their art. My students know their work. So when they look at these posters right away, they can tell, they talk and talk and talk and tell me all these stories where they were when they saw or heard this particular album. So them being able to see a visual connection to what they've been listening to for so long, it's really, really empowering. So this is how the wall looked about a year and a half ago, and it's even grown since then. So it's even bigger at this point, the hip hop wall. All right, so basically, how does a hip hop lesson look inside the classroom? I'm just basically about to walk you through an example of how I start the lesson. So years ago, I started with the Good Kid, Mad City unit. It was the end of the school year unit. It was the largest unit of the school year. It lasted 6 weeks to 2 months. So basically the last 2 months of the school year or so. We start in different pieces where we go through a stage where we
No,
brainstorming.
I'm watching Lara's program. Probably half an hour
So this particular worksheet right
about
here
hip hop.
is basically where they're brainstorming. So one side says good kid,
It's
another side
I already ate. It's in the
says,
fridge.
Oh,
There's a half, yeah.
oh, I think someone is
It's a little soggy.
there you go. So on one side of the worksheet, there is a side that says good kid, the other side says Mad City. And basically, you know, they have their instructions and they don't know necessarily how to, like, what in the world am I supposed to do for this artwork? How do I start? So I break it up into like many steps. This is one of the first steps. Brainstorm. Good kid, Mad City. Good kid is on the positive words. You can say all the positive words that are about your community, about yourself or someone that you know that is from your community, like a friend, a family member. Anything that comes to mind, write it down. And I tell them a number that they are supposed to reach. 50 words, brainstorm it. Same thing for the Mad City side. They brainstorm all the things that are quote unquote negative that is said about their city, the negative things that they experience, witness, again, and these are connections that, or I should say experiences that come from their own head. And again, 50 words brainstorming. Usually what happens is the students are like at 25, 30 words or so, they're stuck. They're like, I don't know, like, I can't think no more. So at that point, I have all the students we do these stand and shares where they stand up from their desk and they just start listing words. I tell them list, not list, but verbalize 5 of the words that you brainstorm. So when we go through the whole class and the whole class verbalized 5 or so words, I tell them to write down something that resonates with them that their classmate says. So that's usually how we make up for the 100 words total that I want to have on this particular sheet, 100 words. In the middle, this is where they brainstorm concepts at this point. So based on all the words that they're connected to, what are some concepts that you have? So they know the overall theme. The theme is Good Kid, Mad City, and even on top of that, the overall theme above that is community. So based on that, what are some topics you can create your artwork on? So here's an example right here. In the middle, it says one artwork possibility could be based on high school dropout rates. Another one could be about the lack of resources, and another one could be about abandonment, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is a really, really good place to start off as far as like generating those ideas. Another part of the steps, because I said I break them down to like many, many steps. Another part of this particular unit is doing the lyric analysis. So it's based off the song and the album Good Kid, Mad City. They see the song lyrics. We get into groups, maybe of 2 AB partners. They look at it and they go line for line and they do an analysis of what that line means to them, how they interpret it. And it's so amazing how it's one song, and throughout the years, I've seen so many people interpret this in so many different ways. It's really, really amazing to see. So yeah, a lyric analysis. One, you could break it into like one big group does verse 1, another big group do verse 2, another big group do verse 3. You work with AB partners, however you want to finagle that. There's different ways, but this is a great activity as well. And then beyond that, once again, if the theme is Good Kid, Mad City, I tell them about like this interview that I watched a long time ago when Kendrick Lamar went by K Dot, and people were asking him, why do you spell M mad like that? M, like, actually, hold on, lowercase m dot, uppercase a dot lowercase d. Why do you spell it like that, Kendrick? Why? So in the interview, Kendrick said, like, okay, basically have, a few meanings. One of the meanings for that was my angry adolescence divided. And another meaning he said that it meant was my angels on angel dust. So again, those meanings came from his experience. What I asked my students to do is take that same Good Kid, Mad City, and figure out what mad means to you. So I've seen some really, really creative things with that particular acronym, MAD. My Angry Dad, that was the title of one of the students, just to give you a quick example. All right. So this is a lesson that was done recently by a student. I believe it was even last year when we started to do a lot with media art. So I kind of changed from having this this lesson with just being strictly on paper, and I started teaching commercial art more and more. But now it's on a computer, and I just want to show you an example, especially with modern technology, of like how this lesson can end up turning out. And this is an example of the summative assignment, like one of the final assignments that they did, having gone through all those different steps with brainstorming and things like that. So we're just going to take a second to listen.
In a world full of struggle, she's a diamond in the rough. A young girl facing hardships. Yeah, she's that tough. With a mind so sharp, she's ready to escape. Using her brain, now concentrate. Raised in a storm, but she's the eye. with a vision of the life she's always wanted, reaching for the sky. With every obstacle her passion fills, learning from the pain to get over that hill. No matter the odds, she's got the strength to persevere. A warrior in her own right, conquering every fear, rewriting the story, breaking the mold, empowered by her dreams with such a strong hold. Let her be a light for every young girl, ready to take flight, breaking every chain to live a life free of pain.
All right. So this is one of the works that I got back that I really, really love because I saw the spark in this particular student after going through the whole brainstorming process, coming up with your own meaning for the acronym MAD City, using that as a title for your own artwork. And also one of the steps that I did not mention that I do have the students do as well is they write their own verse, their own song verse. So they kind of freak out a lot of times because they're like, Miss, I don't want to perform it. Well, you don't have to perform it if you don't want to, but I do ask them to write some kind of verse. And if they say, I don't know how to write, think of it as poetry, think of it as creative writing. If you can make it rhyme, great. If you can't, just say whatever comes to your heart, but connect it to the story the visual story that you're telling. So what you just heard the student say, the words that she just said, that is her verse that she wrote. And then with the inclusion of the media arts, and again with the advanced technology, we were able to easily do the voiceover for it, also include animation. And again, after she went through all those steps in brainstorming, I saw a fire in her eyes. She was like, I know exactly what I want to do. And this is what she came up with. And I was really, really happy about that. All right, so moving on, how does a hip hop lesson look outside of the classroom? So again, this was a huge unit that I typically do. It started off about 2 months. Now, like last year, for example, I got it down to about 3 weeks. So, there's some different ways that you can basically customize this lesson. So in 2015, once we were almost ready to complete our summative project, after we did all the brainstorming, learning about Kendrick Lamar, learning about his story, and not to mention this man, Kendrick Lamar, is right next door, the next city right next door. He's in Compton, we're in Watts. They're like brother and sister. So they're seeing like, oh, this person been through all of this stuff, has overcome all of this stuff, is communicating these feelings and all the stuff that he went through. So we took it a step further. I was able to get the support of my administration at the time. And we took photos. Well, even before the photos, basically what happened was I had this crazy idea. At the time, there was an exhibit at another museum in downtown LA. And didn't know how we was going to take the students or anything like that. So we decided to just take them on a train, take them on a bus. So we did. It was about maybe 45 students, had a few chaperones, and we got on the train, the Blue Line train, took it downtown and ended up there at this particular exhibit. So it just so happened that Kendrick Lamar was coming out with his new album. So it was a lot of talk around him. And they had an exhibit based on his art, his album, Good Kid, Mad City. It was called Double Conscious. And the film was by Khalil Joseph. So we saw that, and it was just like visuals as far as like people that are from around the city of Compton playing different songs. It was a visual experience. I'll just say that. So my students were able to see that, and that was really, really cool. I was happy about that. How does this lesson look outside of the classroom? Still, one part of what we did for this lesson, when we came back, they did their summative projects based on everything that they brainstormed and experienced. Did their summative project, so we put on an art exhibit. So the art exhibit was called Good Kids Art Exhibit. And we made these flyers, invited different people from the community to speak. So the students were able to go into different classrooms. We had vendors come out. So there were people selling, there were people like local community, local businesses that were like, okay, I want to, participate. I can come and give swag. So we had these these dope businesses, literally the business that's called Dope. They were there, skateboarders. It was like this big thing. Um, and then since 2015, with this Good Kid art exhibit, it hasn't been as grand, but we were able to continue on with some kind of exhibit or some kind of art show throughout the years. One time, like the second photo you see, the kids wrote down Good Kid Mad City um on the ground outside with chalk, just in preparation for another art exhibit. Let me go ahead and move on. One of the things I had my students do, my AP students, they were done with their AP stuff. It was May. And so they collaborated on this big project. So there's like this mini mural, but just on paper. And it just so happened to be that 1992, the anniversary for the LA riots and the city of LA burning. It was their 25th or 30th anniversary or something like that. So they studied all of the events, watched the documentary about what happened with the riots of 1992. And that was their version, their interpretation of Mad City. So it was spot on as far as like telling those visual and creative stories, and in this case even providing some history. So again, another one of those projects I was really, really happy about. And real quick, this one right here, just some screenshots of like this, like how we set up the students painting the ground and posters, and also just creating a mini art exhibit with even very limited funds. So if in the third photo, it was just a matter of us putting our projects on the tables outside downstairs and having students stay after school for 20-30 minutes. And then I'll talk more about that in a second. Here, the way to get the students to stay after school is to make it one of those summative assignments requirements, like our final, basically. I have seniors, I teach seniors, so they know that, okay, I want to graduate, so let me do a good job on this. Give them a sheet like this. So they walk to the exhibit with the sheet. They see exactly how they get their points, as evidenced by the rubric. You need to have this certain criteria, this certain criteria, et cetera, et cetera. It walks you down exactly what you need to do. You need to have a description. This is where we're going into like analyzing each other's artwork. So describing another student's artwork, analyzing it, interpreting their artwork, and then also judging it. And the next one. So as far as another way to do this assignment, again, many ways. It's been many years at this point. I've edited this assignment in so many different ways. So how does a hip hop lesson look? Once again, this one right here, this is based off of a video from Flying Lotus. It's called Until the Quiet Comes, and it's by Khalil Joseph again. And Khalil Joseph is also, it just so happened, this was coincidence, but the exhibit that I took the students, or we took the students to downtown LA, the exhibit that we went to go see, that was by Khalil Joseph. I ended up finding this amazing video by him as well, and it's called Until the Quiet Comes. I watched it and I said, oh my goodness, I literally saw one of my students in this video. And the video was filmed around the corner, basically in a Nickerson Garden project homes from our school. So again, making those connections, something that they can relate to. A lot of my students live in these project homes. So this was perfect as far as content and subject matter, I should say. We're not going to watch the video. I do have a link to the video, but I do want to show you how just being able to analyze this video. So if you're familiar with science and CERs, which are called, CER. So another way is I say it. I usually say ECR because I want my students to look for evidence first. I always want them to write down what you see, find the evidence. So here's some screenshots. The students can look at a video, take screenshots of certain parts of the video that stand out, and they describe what they see just as if they're looking at a work of art. List everything that you see. So here's just a bunch of different breakdowns of what my students have, what exactly they see. So I'm just going to read something real quick. This scene takes place at night because it's dark outside, or as evidence because of, how dark it is. There's an African-American man. He's injured by a gunshot wound. So they see all of these different things, okay? So their claim, this particular student's claim, what is the central theme of this work of art? That was the question, the guiding question for this. And they said the central theme was insecurity about crime that lies within the area of the Nickerson Gardens. That's what they determined that this work of art was about. And again, I'm just going to go back for a second. They did all of this research and breaking down exactly what they saw to come up with this particular claim. And then the reasoning paragraph. So now it's their time to be a lawyer, and I provide the sentence starter for them based on the fact that list the evidence. And then they put, it's reasonable to conclude that whatever they want to say, and because, and then ... they write down the rest of the information. They talk about how they can make inferences, and they go into historical context. So if there's anything that they could put from history to even support their claim as to why they feel like the work of art was about that, again, feel free to connect your personal experiences or even facts throughout history. And then lastly, what is the artist trying to say to the audience? So they go into detail about that. And it takes a bunch of practice to do these CERs, but I just want to demonstrate how even art, we can get into this critical literacy, and students can get into these deep topics, and they can get really, really rigorous work that is meaningful to them. All right, so just real quick, as far as like hip hop's connection to SEL, first of all, it encourages self-awareness. It helps us, or even teaches us, students, teachers, whomever, how to self-regulate, and that's really, really important. It promotes social awareness and also relationship skills. And then as far as the connection to ED&I, I love this right here. Culturally diversity and representation. So all of these examples, they're seeing people that's creating art that live down the street from them, that still comes to the neighborhood, or that's being filmed in a place where they live. It's not something that's far off to them, and that they can just probably just imagine. So next, as far as hip hop's connection to ED&I, it's breaking stereotypes, breaking down, stereotypes. I'm from LA. I, made it, I guess you could say. I wouldn't say I made it out the hood, but I don't want to make it out the hood. I want to stay in the hood with y'all. Like, I want to, ain't nothing wrong with the hood. But it breaks down stereotypes. Like, all people from the hood, we're not X, Y, and Z, basically. And the students start to see that people like them do pretty cool things. It's inclusive, and it's basically it's basically empowering. I'll just leave it with at that. All right, so we're concluding. I do want to leave some resources. So one of the IGs that I like to visit is Hip Hop Ed. And this is a website that you can go to, but I typically just follow them on IG and like interact with their posts and things like that. And they just post really, really cool things. And then next, I'll leave this up here for a second. If you are interested in following myself, if you have any follow-up questions for me that we can't talk about in the time frame that we have the last few minutes, then feel free to follow me. So take out your cell phone. The first one is my social media. The second one, QR code, is the presentation resources. So I'm going to add to that folder. If this presentation is not already there, I will add the presentation and then also some student examples throughout the year. So I have to dig through some more and take photos, and I'll add it to that resource folder. And if for whatever reason you don't have a QR code, my social media is ShayArts_EDU, Shay with a C. And then lastly, I want to thank you so very much for trusting me and listening to me. And I just appreciate everything. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Shay. That was great. Loved hearing about how you bring this artistry of hip hop to your students through so many different kinds of media. I mean, through the music, the visuals, the writing. It's really, really cool. We have a few minutes left, so I just wanted to open it up to any questions from the audience. You can unmute yourselves if you want. You can put them in the chat, whatever you're most comfortable with. Lots of love in the chat right now.
Oh, I don't see it. Oh, but thank you. Thank you so much. Do you see any questions? Maybe in the
Not
chat?
yet.
Okay.
We'll keep it open though. I know sometimes it takes people a couple minutes to come up with something. I'm also going to put a link to a survey in the chat, so you can let us know how much you loved the presentation. This feedback is really helpful for us, so please take the survey. There's also a section of the survey where you can enter your name and email, and I will send you a professional development hours letter that you can submit to your district for PD hours. You can also use it for NBC National Board certification hours if you like. So that's in that survey link. Okay, there's a question in the chat from Audrey. How do you deal with the negativity in hip hop in the classroom?
So there are different ways that my brain is kind of picking up on the negativity as far as like the content that typically that's communicated through some rappers. I'm not sure if you mean it that way or just a stereotype of rappers in general. I'll say this. I'm big on kind of just breaking down those stereotypes as far as like if people have judgments about rappers or students that are into hip hop music and stuff like that. I do things like this and show them, look, here's the data, here's what we can do, dot, dot, dot. And if you mean the other way, as far as like, oh, well, there are a lot of, for example, artists that talk about drugs a lot or just like things that we don't want to necessarily teach to our students, then we or I as a teacher, I definitely make that distinction. I don't make no excuses. We understand that there's like certain types of music out there that like, okay, we can just listen to and dance to or whatever. And then there are other types of music as far as hip hop is where we can soak it in, sit with it, digest it, and really connect with it. So those are the two ways that I deal with it.
Thanks, Shay.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, it's just about 6 o'clock. If we don't have any other questions, we can go ahead and close the program. I just want to say thank you again, Shay. It's been such a pleasure to work with you and to have you at the program tonight. And I wish you all a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.